Good morning, friends, and happy time zone to you, wherever in the world you may be. I'm Maestra Catalina Ana de Salamanca. I'm out of Anstiora, Bringalad specifically, and that is, in fact, Austin, Texas. So it's not that early for me, but whatever you need to get you through the day, this is only the fourth cup of coffee. Today's class that we're going to be hopefully interacting on is a basic Chatelaine or Hospitler checklist. In the Kingdom of Anstiora, a Chatelaine is not the person who helps newcomers. It is actually the person who keeps all of the royal stuff. So for me, the office is called Hospitler. I can go back and forth in the terminology, but I hope I don't confuse anyone with that. If I do, just, smack me a little bit and say, hey, I apologize in advance. The big thing, the whole reason this class is happening is I have been a hospitler at the local level, at the regional level, and at the kingdom level. And when I stepped into the office of Chatelaine, there was no rules. I'm not saying it was the Wild West. I'm saying there were no directions. I was just sort of told, hey, you've got a great personality. You'll be good at this. Poof, off you go, straight into the deep end. Good luck. At some point, someone got in touch with me and said, oh, have you been doing your reports? And I went, And then the second thing someone said was, how much stuff do we have? Your guess is as good as mine. So I started putting together a checklist, literally, because this is the way my brain works. And if I don't have a checklist, it ain't going to happen. I'm going to try to pop up here with you and let you see the checklist that I built. There we go. So this checklist, again, it's entitled Hospitler because that's where I am. And it is very Anstioran specific, but I managed to kind of generic it a little bit. There's stuff in here that is applicable no matter where you are. We're going to try to make you, I do not like this laptop. We will then stop it. Okay. I'm going to actually ask that you check with the handout, and the information is available, and we'll be able to get that to you later. My laptop has suddenly decided it's not going to play nice with everyone. So one of the first things that I discovered is you need to talk with whoever your immediate royal representative is. And for me, that was a baron and baroness. If you are in a shire or in something like a canton, that might not be your immediate baroness. It may just be your seneschal. Whatever person is local to you, you need to talk to them and let them know you've taken the office. There's a surprising number of people who show up one day and go, hi, I'm an officer. And everyone goes, yeah, cool. Have we met? So it's important. Meet your locals, your seneschal, and your local web minister, if at all possible. In Anstiora, one of the things we have is an email address that's attached to the office. The seneschal and or web minister are the only people who are going to be able to get you access to that. So yeah, you'll be really much happier if you can get in touch with that. Possibly the next person you should talk to is your local quartermaster. If you don't have a quartermaster, probably the stuff, your gold key, whatever your stuff is for your group, it's probably with the previous office holder if you do not have a quartermaster. You're going to want to take some time on this one. This is not an absolute necessity right out of the gate, first day thing, but try to create an inventory of what you actually have inherited, whether that's I have 4 random wooden plates in a bin and a dented mug and 3 belts, or if it's I have 17 boxes of assorted garb that has not come into the light since 1970. It's fine. You don't have to do anything with it. You just need to count it and see what you've got on hand. Because at some point, you're going to want to make a report and say, this stuff is all covered in mold. Can I let it go? Or this stuff is amazing. Everybody should have a kit like this. That looks good on your report. Do that. So get yourself an inventory, talk to whoever has the stuff, make sure there's a place for you to store the stuff. Some groups require the officer specifically to store the stuff with them. Some groups require a special officer, a quartermaster, or whatever your local term may be, to store the stuff there. That one is dependent on where you are, but there is, I promise you, there's stuff. There's always stuff. Somebody else you need to talk to. You have a treasurer locally. Your office may or may not have a budget. It's important to find out if it does. If you do have a budget, great. You're probably going to be using it to create printed materials, possibly handouts, get yourself some nice little business cards with QR codes, whatever makes you happy. But you need to know how much money your group wants you to spend. You also need to know what the reporting cycle on that looks like. Do you need to send an immediate notice to the treasurer every time you want to spend something and they release the funds to you? Or do you pay for something and then get a reimbursement? For me locally, it actually depends on the financial level. If it's something that is over a certain dollar amount, I have to get it in writing ahead of time that I'm allowed to spend that. If it's under a certain dollar amount, they're like, what, $10 for water? Yeah, go for it. Don't even worry about it. But you got to find out what your personal area cycle is. That goes back to the communication. Once you do have communication established, send an email from your official email account to your regional, your kingdom hospitalers, anybody you could think of who needs to know you've taken the position. I know that some folks get a little overexcited on sending emails and saying, hi, I'm the new so-and-so. Don't worry about it. More communication in this instance is better, because one of the biggest things about being the contact, the person for newcomers, is extra communication. It's fine to communicate very strongly with oldcomers as well. If you have locally anything like a Facebook group, a Discord channel, an Instagram, any social media platform, it's kind of helpful to find out who's in charge of that. For me locally, I got a web minister for that. I don't have to personally track all of it. For some of the smaller groups in the area, that might not be the option. So if it's your job, number one, find out that ahead of time. And number two, just make sure you have access. If you don't have administrator access to these platforms or channels, and someone comes to you and says, I didn't get an invite to the Discord, and you'll be like, me either. Not so great. See if you've got one, see what it takes to get access. It's kind of a helpful thing. Depending on the type of group it is, there may be a limited number of administrators for that. So you may just have to contact someone every time you need to add, or, work with your local people. It goes back to finding out who your local people are. So that's like day one. Okay, that's a lot for day one. I get it. It's okay. Day one, most people are busy going, I got the job. Wait, what do I do? It's okay. We have checklist. Your checklist will come to you. We will either get it to you through this particular class, or we'll find a way. Don't worry about it. I will make sure you get this checklist. So next step, we go into, what are you going to do on a weekly basis? What is your responsibility as the first contact person? You need to figure out which group meetings you can actually attend. In my group, for example, we have two kinds of group meetings. I have a weekly populace in the park, which is sometimes just called fighter practice if you're a fighter. Our populace in the park is not just for fighters. We have small classes out there. We have people just come and hang out. I think once in a while we'll have a potluck. Your local group probably has, at minimum, an open practice so that people can find you. My group also has a monthly business meeting. And the business meeting is very much, here's how much money we have, here's how much stuff we have. People are still showing up, great. when you have two sets of meetings like that, it's kind of nice because you get the option to go, I can go to the fighter practice. In my case, I can be at the fighter practice, but I have to be there late because I work until a certain point in the evening. All right. And the business meeting I can go to because for right now, a lot of them are virtual. So I can do that. I can turn that on in the background. I can make my report. No problem. If you can't go, that's okay. No, really, it's okay. You can deputize people. It is 100% okay with communication to your local seneschal and or baron and baroness to have somebody take notes for you. Have somebody be there at the local meeting to hand out information to people who walk by and go, wow, what are those crazy people doing? Have somebody you can trust, who is friendly, all of the good requirements, not too creepy, that's important, but somebody you can have go in and handle information for you if you can't be there. Nothing says you have to do all of this yourself. Now, if you're discovering that you are actually deputizing for every meeting ever and you're not wanting to interact at all, might be time to consider handing the office off to somebody else. But deputizing one person to handle the first half of my fighter practice, I can do that. I will be there later in the evening. I will get the handoff. We can take it from there. I can do that and still fulfill the duties of my office. The duties of my office really specifically are connecting people to information. That's what we're doing. The other thing that is kind of important on a weekly basis, you need to follow up on all received calls, messages, texts, chats, emails, all of the information. When you have people coming to you, you need to get back with them. And the recommended time period for that is within 24 hours. I know, not everybody wants to live online. Many people do not have the ability to do that. If you decide that this is the office that you want to do, I strongly recommend checking your email or other contact methods once a day. Put it on your phone, put it in a calendar. Within 24 hours is how we get our best responses. If we let people go in an age of immediate communication and we don't get back to them, they're going to assume we're not interested in them. The job itself is about creating connections. The game that we're playing is about creating community in the long run. Most of the stuff that we do, I can do it really similarly online. I can go ride a much less expensive horse in Skyrim. I don't have to visit with actual humans. So as the local newcomer contact, the Chatelaine, the Hospitaller, it's my job to smooth the way for folks and say, yes, we do want you to come play with us. We are very interested in what you have to add to our community. Please come. If you don't get back in touch with them within a reasonable amount of time, we lose them. And that's just the way it is. There are vast numbers of places that they can take themselves and go play. So it is important. I know it seems like a lot, and especially if you haven't had to do this before, but check your contact points every day, if at all possible. People get sick. Life happens. You can, if it becomes necessary, send an emergency. Oh, I'm so sorry. My cat was on fire and the house blew away and stuff has occurred. People will get that. They know life happens. But if you personally can't be back in touch with somebody, see if maybe you can have somebody else check those messages for you while you're going through a bad emergency time. I know I personally, when I go in the hospital, never remember to have someone check my email. It's just not what I'm concentrating on. But I also try to make sure I have a deputy who will check in with me and say, hey, there's emails stacking up. Yes, please help me with that. Asking for help is completely legit. Don't ever get anybody who just pushes it off on you and says, you took the job, you do it. No, we're doing this together. We're all doing this together. And if we make one person the point man, that's great. They're leading the charge. We need to support our local hospitalers and chatelaines as well. The other big thing, and I'm sure many of my longtime hospitalers and chatelaines will agree with us, you have a report. When you take the office, find out what day your report is due. And on Stiora, it's due on the 1st of the month. Sometimes we'll let you slide a little, but it is due on the 1st of the month. Find out how to submit that report. For me, I go to a specific website. I enter the information in that website, and what it's collecting is usually very straightforward things. Things like, how many meetings did I go to? How many meetings did we have? How many people did I talk to? How many of them were brand new? How many of them had just come in from somewhere else? This is not, we're not doing anything really complex. One of the other things our reports do tend to track are things like, how many classes did you, as the newcomer contact, post? And when I first stepped up, I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to run classes? You're supposed to facilitate classes. If you personally are not comfortable putting out the call and saying, everybody come on over, we're going to talk about things, that's okay. See if you can find someone who would like to talk on that point. The newcomers academies that we are all working on from one direction or another will be super helpful. If you don't have a newcomers academy curriculum in your area, look around. I'm pretty sure somebody in your kingdom may have one. We are trying to standardize them. I think both in Onstiora and possibly across the known world, we're trying to make all of these curricula tolerably the same. When you get right down to the base level, to the local level, okay, that gets a little fuzzy down there. But across the big swath of people, what did you want to know the first time you went to an event? What do I have to wear? How much is it going to cost? How do I get there? What do I need to bring? These are pretty simple questions. Those are questions you probably can answer. Even if you don't even have the office, you can probably answer those questions. So that information goes on the report. How many classes? Okay. It's really useful, or it was really useful for me to put an alarm on my phone. You can put a phone alarm. You can put a, some people use like a Google Calendar alert, something that says, hey, my report is due in 2 days. I need to sit down and take care of this. I actually like to set mine 3 days out because if it's a holiday or a weekend or something, I want to make sure that my report got in on time because it provided my kingdom hospitaler one less stress point. Goodness knows, lowering the stress level for kingdom is kind of helpful. The West does not have a newcomers academy. Oh, you made a newcomers orientation. That's wonderful. I am very impressed with that. I would strongly recommend getting in touch with your kingdom hospitaler if you are not the kingdom hospitaler and interacting with them to see if they have the ability to take your hard work and spread it, because that is a lot of work and I'm sure it is deeply appreciated. On a monthly basis, again, try to attend whatever group meetings you may have. Be enthusiastic in your welcome to anyone that you don't know. There's a trick to this, which I discovered to my embarrassment. I used to be in the habit of walking up to people that I had never seen before and being like, hi, do you know what we're doing out here? Because interactivity, right? I'm not forcing them to interact with me, but that came back to bite me when I actively tried to recruit a gentleman who it turns out was a duke from somewhere else who had just moved into the area. He doesn't remember it at all. I die of embarrassment every time I think about it. So when I'm saying actively welcome newcomers, get yourself a script or a pattern, like maybe 2 sentences or 3 sentences of, hi, this is what group is doing. Is there something we could interest you in? Or does anything out here look like fun? Or have you ever considered? You don't really want to, in a welcome pitch, be too much of a multi-level market love bomber. Don't come in and just like, let me overwhelm you with all the things. And that's hard. We are doing this job because we love the SCA. We love doing this. This is our favorite hobby. We want to share it. We're usually, not always, but most of us are fairly bubbly, overwhelming personalities. It's okay. Give them the option. Say hello, introduce yourself, whatever, and ask if they want to know more. That's an enthusiastic welcome. You don't have to do more than that. And if they say, nope, I'm walking my dog, I just stopped to see what you're doing, and you're like, great, here's a business card, check us out online, we'll be here every week. Whatever. But you don't have to continually do much more than that. It's a small opening. And if they are interested, they'll come back. And if they're not interested, but their dog just likes to walk back and forth in that area, well, you'll see him again next week. Don't worry about it. They'll come back. Something else that you can do once a month. For my group, we have a report. The Hospitaller does report, the Chatelaine reports once a month in the local business meeting. You can create an article that is your verbal report ahead of time. You can just kind of summarize, here's what your newcomers group is doing this week, this month. Here's what the newcomers group has accomplished. If you have accomplished breathing and checking your email, good. That's 2 things. You actually did it. Don't feel embarrassed if you haven't had any communications or haven't had people come in and suddenly you're the most popular group on campus. Don't worry about that. You could say, listen, I've had no email contacts this month. Next month, I'm going to try putting up a flyer in a local coffee shop. Or I've had 2 people contact me and say they're interested, but I haven't seen them out at practice. That's okay. That is literally what you're doing. There's no need to feel uptight or embarrassed or confused about right now, in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter. And for Onsteora, we do a lot of our stuff outside. And if the weather is kind of gross, people are not going to show up. It's just not anything you have done or not done. It's the weather. I can't make it stop raining. If you can, let me know. We need to have a conversation. But if you're doing all of that, one thing that I found super helpful was to keep all of those little monthly report concepts into one file. I keep them on my Google Drive, and that makes it so that when the quarterly reports come in, when it's time for me to do something a little bit bigger, I don't have to remember all of it. My memory is not the best. So instead of me trying to figure out, what did I do 2 weeks ago? I gotta just look it up. I put 2 lines or 3 lines into a rolling Google Doc, and then I can go back and go, okay, here's the date. Nothing happened. Great. I'll put that in. There's not always something that has to happen monthly. Usually, though, you're going to need at least 1 report for your kingdom level, if nothing else. Quarterly. Quarterly is a weird one. Some places do not care. Some places are like, it's been 3 months. Talk to me. What's going on? How's you doing? How's your thing? Okay, all right. Big thing quarterly I discovered is double check on the amount and the condition of your loaner gear. Whatever your gold key looks like, wherever it's been stored. I have had experience at one point in Onsteora when I was Kingdom Hospitaller. The shed that one group was keeping all of their gold key in burnt down. Just gone. Everything's gone. And because they mentioned this to me, I was able to contact other groups in their area and be like, so these folks are in need. Can you guys like spare 1 or 2 tunics and a plate? Can we just get a couple of things? You know us. We're extremely generous. We overwhelmed these poor people. They had to get another shed. It was great. There is no reason for you to be embarrassed about the condition of the gear unless it's your house that burns down, in which case ask for help, please. I don't want that to happen to anybody. It's awful. If you do need to repair stuff, that actually can go to your local budget. So one of the things that you might find helpful is get the local seneschal, local baron and baroness, even maybe the local treasurer in on it if something has occurred to the stuff. Just surprising them with a, by the way, I replaced everything we own. Some people don't take that well. It's a shocker, but that can actually be a problem. I admire the initiative, but it's important to keep everybody in the loop, particularly if there are financial obligations. Haldora, you hand out site tokens to new visitors. That's a lovely thing. I actually love that tradition. In Onstera, our crown tends to do that, but of course, crown can't be at every single event. So if you have something pretty that you can give, that's awesome. If you don't have something pretty that you can give, consider, if it's in the budget, having something created with the local group's contact information, even just the name, right? So if you have a fabulous little silver coin, you can buy them very cheaply online. You get a little silver colored coin with your group name and your, device or some populist badge on it, and hand that out. Awesome. And that way, even if they don't come back, they still have a memento and they can look you up later and be like, well, this is sca.org on it. Huh, maybe I should go look that up. Even if they're not in your area, they'll be able to find us again. It is kind of helpful to have at least one class for your newcomers. Oh, that's true. Many Scadians do have laser cutters. You are right, Elizabeth, and that is a brilliant idea. And a lot of folks like to have test batches of things. For instance, if they haven't done a site token before, it's hey, you want to do up like 20 of these as a test run and see what happens? You can't necessarily split your time. Most of us have not yet managed cloning, which is a shame. We can't be in more than one place at a time. So if you're not able to personally be at every single event in the area and also teach a class, please see higher up on the list, deputize. Ask if your local Knights Marshal would like to teach a newcomers class specifically about heavy combat. Ask if your local Rapier Marshal would like to teach a specific Rapier class for newcomers aimed at base level. One of the things that my newcomers have been telling me a lot of recently is there are some difficulties in walking up to a complete and total group of strangers who are engaged in a violent martial activity and asking, hey, how do I do that? There's definitely a little bit of a barrier to communication there. People get a little uncomfortable sometimes. They would like to do it. They're interested, but maybe they don't know that we have spare armor, or maybe they don't know that they probably should be wearing a cup. So having a focused class that is publicized and put out specifically for, this is the basics. This is 101. You don't have to know anything besides your own name to show up. Your age might be helpful. That way you can say on your report, why, yes, there was a newcomers class in my barony. Make sure you talk to the officer who's taught the class. Get a head count. That's it. You have a topic, you have a head count. That's what you need. If you do have any major events that happen in that quarter, for example, my group, we tend to have one big event in the spring and one big event in the fall. And when we have those, we try, it doesn't always work, but we try to graduate our newcomers academy. Here you go. We're going to call you up in court. This is your graduation ceremony. In the past, we've given them like a mug or a mug and a plate. Congratulations. Here's your feast gear. Sometimes we've been able to have people who have consistently visited a class for, at that point, 6 months, once a month. So that's 6 classes. That's kind of a lot. Give them something for showing up. You know, that's very impressive of them to have taken the time to come and join you. So send your regional a little note. I had 4 people who went all the way through the entire, and then I had 2 people who showed up late, and then I had 1 person who came the day of the event, but they were so excited, we just popped them right in here, and in 20 minutes, they're going to be the next hospitaler. Don't worry about it. Let your regional know what you have coming in. And if you're feeling really proud of yourself, brag on yourself. I got 2 TV spots and a newspaper. Talk about it. You are supposed to be telling people what you've done. That's really a big thing. And that leads into what I consider a yearly obligation. Be prepared to assist with your group's events, whether that's your specific group that's putting on the whole thing, if you're in a barony or a principality or something fairly large, or if you are helping another group, if you're a shire, if you're a canton, if you're a college or a stronghold, and you don't necessarily host the event yourself, but maybe your sponsor group does, be prepared to help. Go in and say, hey, I am here. Let me know what we need. One thing that we've had really, really helpful for Onstura is we've been trying to have an information point up near the front gate. Now, previously, I know a lot of groups would have gold key, but one thing that we have a really bad habit of is dropping into jargon. We start using terminology and words that we know what it means, but random Joe off the street doesn't know what gold key is. They really don't. And maybe if you just put up a sign that says information, that word they know. And people will go to the information point and say, what is this? What is this? How do I get involved? What is this? Why are you people here? What is this? Do you have any clothes? Information point, we're going to keep a copy of the schedule. We're going to keep a site map if we have one. We're going to have people sitting there manning it. I try to keep it into small shifts. We tend to like circle them out at the same time we circle gate shifts out. And yeah, we keep the clothes there, the feast gear there, the spare chair, if anybody's lucky enough to have a spare chair. Because that's one of the first places people are going to interact with us. So having that front loaded, having the information right there at the front gate helps them feel more comfortable and like they're more in control of what's going on during the day. We could be a lot. I know I personally can be a lot. And I'm going on the assumption that if I walked up to something and people just said, over there, the green flag with the yellow thing on it, I don't know that I would ever really feel comfortable just sort of inserting myself into that conversation. Be the extra hook right up front. If you can't make it to the event, there's reasons. You're graduating college, your dog is getting a degree, whatever. Get yourself a clearly marked deputy. And when I say clearly marked, I mean have your deputy and the person running the event talk to each other. Y'all need to make sure that once that poor event steward is running around with their tail on fire, they can go, oh, newcomers stuff, go talk to X. Just punt that one off because your deputy or yourself is the one who's supposed to be handling that. Let them know. You will probably wind up in every event steward's gratitude and prayers for that. Let them know that you're going to take that off their plate. You're in charge of getting the loaner gear, the handouts, that stuff to the event. Again, you can deputize that. Maybe you don't have a truck. That's okay. Find somebody who does. But that is your responsibility to triage, think about this event's in a public place. We're going to have 17 new people, so I need at least 17 outfits or whatever. Maybe not everybody will show up. Odds are good, not everybody will show up. But if that happens, you're going to want to make sure that you have access. And you can give it to the autocrat all wrapped up and ready to go. It makes their lives so much easier. Our kingdom on Stiora has events called roundtables. And a roundtable event is sort of a kingdom level business meeting. We're going to talk the nitty and the gritty. We're going to talk about warranting officers. We're going to talk about future projections on budgets. We're going to talk about zip code changes. So this group has suddenly moved into that. All of the real nuts and bolts of the society at the kingdom level happen in Onstiora at a roundtable event. It's super, super important. If you can't go to the Chatelaine Hospitaller track at your kingdom's business level meeting, send somebody who can. Sometimes there's a big change. There might be a new law coming in. There might be some new policies or procedures that have to be put into place. That's where you're going to find out about them. So get yourself somebody who can send you the notes. If you are a regional hospitaller, Chatelaine, or a kingdom level, might recommend setting up your own notes and making sure to send them out after the event to everybody who is on your list. But if you're not a current hospitaller, that would miss you. So you don't have to be a Chatelaine to go to Chatelaine events. This is not a secret. There's nothing here we're trying to hide. Go to the event. Get the information. It's yours for the taking. Another thing you probably need to do at least once a year, check in with your regional officer and see how much time you have left on your warrant. We call it warrant. Some people call it terms of service. Some people just call it you're in the office for X amount of time. Different kingdoms have different amounts of time that you're supposed to be doing the job. And sometimes in the kingdom, it'll change. It's important to know how much time you have, though, because if you are within 6 months of replacement time, you need to talk to your seneschal and your baron and baroness, or whoever your local level head of thing is, because they need to start looking for your replacement. And if they are like most of the people I've interacted with, they would like to have some say in that. You can, put out the ad. We are taking applications. Great. But in Onstiora specifically, the local people need to say, yeah, we want that person to be the face of our newcomers contact. We don't want that person because we haven't actually met them before for reason. So communicate. I know I've said that a lot. This is where we go. Talk to your local officers. Talk to the people above you. If you are original or kingdom, talk to the people below you. Keep the lines of communication as clear as possible. That's going to be absolutely the thing that will save your tuchus, because you need to know what people are expecting of your office, what you actually can do, and how long you have to do it in. So, once again, I deeply apologize for not being able to get this laptop to do two things at once. I'm hoping that we will be able to send you all a handout as requested. This information is going to go up into the Discord channel, I believe, and I think we have a collection of class handouts just for Known World Chatelaine as a whole. You can contact myself or you can contact any of the moderators.